Rival fans mock the Saudi league, pundits question his age, critics call him finished. But this is the same player who conquered England with Manchester United, ruled Europe with Real Madrid, won in Italy with Juventus, lifted Portugal's first major trophy at Euro 2016, added 2 Nations Leagues, and became football's all-time leading international scorer. Over 900 career goals, 143 for Portugal, 140 in the Champions League, 14 at the Euros, goals at 5 different World Cups, more than 200 international caps, and yet one trophy still refuses to enter his cabinet: the World Cup. But this time, Ronaldo is not walking into the tournament alone. Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, João Neves, Bernardo Silva and Nuno Mendes have transformed Portugal into one of the most complete teams in international football. Under Roberto Martinez, Portugal went perfect in Euro qualifying with 10 wins from 10, scored 36 goals, conceded only 2, then beat Spain to win the 2025 Nations League before powering through World Cup qualification with one of Europe's most dangerous attacking records. And that is what makes this dangerous. Because Cristiano Ronaldo no longer needs to carry Portugal for every second of every match. Now he can do what the greatest tournament players do best: control decisive moments, punish pressure, shift momentum, and change the emotional direction of games with one action, one finish, one burst of belief. This is why the 2026 World Cup may become Cristiano Ronaldo's final shot at completing football, and the one chapter his critics are terrified he might still write. Football has been trying to retire Cristiano Ronaldo for years now. Not officially, not politely, but through every missed chance, every lost final, every camera close-up lingering just a little too long on his reaction, every viral post, every comparison, every finished headline, and every argument that starts with his age before it even gets to his football. That's the strange thing about his late career. It's no longer judged like a normal football career, it's become a global debate. Every goal gets used as proof he's still here, every defeat gets used as proof he should have left already, and because Messi completed his story with winning the 2022 World Cup with Argentina, beating France on penalties after a 3-3 final in Qatar, Ronaldo's failures stopped being just failures, they became legacy arguments. A missed chance wasn't just a missed chance, it was content. A lost final wasn't just a lost final, it was another episode in the ongoing online trial of Cristiano Ronaldo. His move to Al Nassr made it worse. When he left Europe after his second Manchester United spell collapsed, most people didn't see it as a new chapter, they saw it as an ending. The Saudi Pro League became the stick. If he scored, people called it stat padding. If he lost, people called it proof. If he celebrated, people called it insecurity. The man genuinely cannot win, except he keeps winning, which is exactly what drives everyone absolutely mad. Because the noise still seems to feed him. That's always been his problem and his superpower at the same time. May 2026 was a sharp reminder of what this story actually is. Days before lifting the Saudi Pro League title, Al Nassr lost the AFC Champions League 2 final 1-0 to Gamba Osaka. The internet did what it does: washed, finished, glory hunter, too old, still chasing. Then, on the final day of the league season, Ronaldo answered in the only language his career has ever truly spoken. Al Nassr beat Damak 4-1, he scored twice, a free kick in the 63rd minute after Damak pulled one back, then another finish in the 81st to seal it, and the club finished on 86 points, 2 ahead of Al Hilal, winning their first league title since 2019. Filed that one away for the doubters. That's the Ronaldo contradiction at 41. The explosive winger who terrorised fullbacks at Old Trafford is gone. The Madrid machine that turned half chances into European knockouts is gone. But the competitive instinct is still there. The penalty box timing is still there. The hunger to turn embarrassment into a response is still there. And that matters, because the 2026 World Cup isn't just another tournament for him. It's the one trophy left. To understand why it still matters this deeply, you have to remember what Ronaldo meant to Portugal before this current generation became fashionable. Today, Portugal can look across their squad and see Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Vitinha, João Neves, Leão, Nuno Mendes, Ruben Dias, João Costa, João Felix, Pedro Neto, Francisco Conceição, and Gonçalo Ramos. That's a serious squad. Depth, control, pace, creativity, elite European experience across the board. But Portugal didn't always walk into tournaments with that kind of balance. For years, their biggest plan was often very simple: Ronaldo has to do something. His senior debut was on August 20th, 2003 at 18 years old against Kazakhstan. A year later, at Euro 2004, Portugal's tournament on home soil, the coronation everyone expected, Greece beat them in the final. Ronaldo was a teenager, crying on the pitch, carrying the first major heartbreak of his international career that would spend the next 2 decades being measured against impossible standards. 2006 World Cup became Portugal's youngest World Cup scorer at the time, reached the semi-finals, but even that came wrapped in controversy. The England quarter-final, the Rooney incident, the booing, the villain treatment. From very early, he wasn't just playing football, he was being interpreted. Euro 2008 quarter-finals, 2010 World Cup, 1 goal against North Korea, early exit. Euro 2012, 3 goals, semi-finals, carrying more of the attacking burden than ever. And then 2013 gave you the clearest picture of what Portugal's relationship with Ronaldo actually looked like at its rawest. World Cup playoff against Sweden. Zlatan dragged Sweden back into the tie and made it genuinely uncomfortable. Then, Ronaldo scored a hat-trick in Solna. Portugal won 3-2 on the night,
4-2 on aggregate. An entire country went to the World Cup because their captain turned a playoff into a personal statement. That was Portugal's story for years. Not always dominant, not always fluent, but always carrying the possibility that Ronaldo could drag them through the door. That's why the current debate around him is more complicated than people pretend. Yes, Portugal are deeper now. Yes, Martinez has more tactical options than previous managers. Yes, the team can win without him. But Ronaldo's place in this squad wasn't built in comfort. It was built across years where he was the player opponents feared, the player Portugal leaned on, the player blamed when tournaments collapsed, and the player expected to rescue qualification when everything got tight. He arrives at 2026 with 226 Portugal caps and 143 international goals, the highest totals in men's international football. He scored at 5 different World Cups, something no male player had done before his penalty against Ghana in 2022. He's won Euro 2016 and 2 Nations League titles. So when people reduce his presence to age alone, they miss the actual point. Ronaldo isn't just an old superstar trying to stay relevant, he's the central figure in Portugal's modern football identity. That doesn't make the questions unfair. They're real. Can a 41-year-old press the way Portugal's younger forwards can? Can he start every major knockout match? Does his presence push Portugal toward more crossing, more fixed patterns, less fluid rotation? Legitimate questions, all of them, but the mistake is assuming the answer is simple, because Ronaldo isn't valuable in 2026 the same way he was at 25 or 29. He's valuable now for moments. One movement between centre-backs, one header, one penalty, one free kick, one finish when a tight World Cup game refuses to open up. That's why football can't stop arguing about him. He makes the game uncomfortable because he refuses to become only a memory. Not young enough to silence every doubt with pace, but still dangerous enough to make every doubt feel risky. And for the first time in years, he enters a World Cup with a Portugal squad that might not need him to carry everything, only to decide the moments that still belong to him. The football world has spent years trying to figure out when Cristiano Ronaldo became finished. Ronaldo has spent those same years trying to win a World Cup. Before Portugal had this golden generation, before the midfield control, the depth, the squad that makes opponents genuinely nervous, they had one constant. They didn't always walk into tournaments believing they had the best squad. They walked in believing they had Cristiano Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo's career is almost too complete to describe normally. England, Spain, Italy, Saudi Arabia, Europe, Portugal, 5 Ballon d'Ors, 5 Champions League titles, a European Championship, 2 Nations League titles, over 900 senior career goals, the most goals in men's international football, the most appearances in men's international football,
140 Champions League goals,
143 international goals, the only male player to score at 5 World Cups. These aren't decoration, they're the foundation of why one missing trophy still keeps this story alive, because the World Cup does something no other trophy can do. It controls memory. Pelé is remembered through 3 World Cups. Maradona is remembered through Mexico 1986. Zidane had Juventus, Real Madrid and Champions League glory, but France 1998 made him eternal, and Messi had already won almost everything before Qatar, yet football still treated 2022 as the moment that completed his story. That's the power of the World Cup. It doesn't just add to a legacy, it defines it, and that's the pressure Ronaldo now carries, because Messi winning the World Cup didn't erase Ronaldo's greatness, it changed the public argument around it. Before Qatar, their rivalry lived inside Ballon d'Ors, Champions League nights, El Clasico memories and style debates. After Qatar, the conversation became harsher. Messi had the one trophy Ronaldo didn't. Suddenly, every Ronaldo chapter after 2022 became a comparison. A Saudi goal became not Europe, a missed chance became this is why, a lost final became the debate is over. That's not analysis, that's legacy warfare. Strip away the noise though, and Ronaldo's career path is still genuinely absurd. At United, he wasn't a finished product when he arrived. Raw, flashy, sometimes frustrating. Ferguson turned that talent into end product. By 2007-08, he'd become the most devastating player in English football. Premier League champion, Champions League winner, Ballon d'Or winner. The first real proof he wasn't just a winger with tricks, he was becoming a goal-scoring system.
Then Real Madrid signed him in 2009 for what was then a world record fee, and that's where the numbers became historic. Madrid had been chasing La Decima for years, and Ronaldo became the face of that obsession. The 2013-2014 Champions League was the turning point. 17 goals in one campaign, still the most ever in a single Champions League season. But La Decima wasn't the end. From 2014 to 2018, Ronaldo helped Madrid win 4 Champions League titles in 5 seasons, including 3 consecutive under Zidane. Knockout football became Ronaldo territory. He scored in finals, dismantled elite defences, and made impossible scoring volume feel routine. Then Juventus, where the mission was different. They didn't sign him to win Serie A, they already did that. They signed him because they believed his Champions League aura could drag them to the trophy they kept missing. The European dream didn't arrive, but domestically he delivered. 2 Serie A titles, goals in volume, proof that his production translated outside Spain.
His United return brought goals, and then tension, and then a messy separation. We all remember that press conference. Al Nassr changed the public lens completely. For critics, Saudi Arabia became the easy punchline. For Ronaldo, it became another stage to keep scoring and keep resisting the idea that he'd already become history. The international story is where this chapter gets bigger though. Euro 2016 remains the defining emotional moment. Started the final against France, got hurt after Payet's challenge in the first half, tried to play through it, eventually broke down and came off after 25 minutes. Spent the rest of the match coaching from the touchline, like a man physically incapable of watching quietly. Portugal won 1-0 in extra time through Eder. Ronaldo didn't finish that final on the pitch, but his presence framed the entire night. Portugal won their first major senior trophy, and his international career finally had something other than heartbreak in it. Nations League 2019, another Portugal trophy. Then in 2025, at 40, he was still there when Portugal beat Spain in the Nations League final in Munich. Spain led twice, Portugal answered twice. Ronaldo scored Portugal's second equaliser, his 138th international goal, before Portugal won 5-3 on penalties. He was in tears afterward, said winning for Portugal meant more than club titles. That match alone destroys the lazy version of the Ronaldo debate. This wasn't a ceremonial captain being carried to another medal. He scored in a major final against Spain when Portugal needed a moment. He gave them one. Now the question heading into 2026 is whether Portugal can use him without becoming trapped by him. Because this Portugal team is genuinely different. Under Martinez, their Euro 2024 campaign was almost perfect. 10 wins from 10, 36 goals scored, only 2 conceded. Portugal aren't entering this tournament waiting for Ronaldo to rescue them. They have real control now. Vitinha gives them rhythm under pressure. João Neves gives them energy and press resistance. Bruno Fernandes gives them final third risk and late box arrivals. Bernardo Silva gives them calm, intelligence, and the ability to manipulate tempo without forcing anything. That midfield is the biggest tactical shift in Portugal's modern identity. Older Portugal squads had stars, but not always control. This version can dominate possession, circulate through pressure, and create without panicking, which is exactly what you need in a World Cup when knockout games are rarely open for 90 minutes. Wide areas add another dimension. Leao carries power and direct threat from the left. Neto brings acceleration and transition danger. Conceição brings 1v1 aggression. João Felix connects midfield and attack between the lines, and Nuno Mendes, who scored Portugal's first equaliser against Spain in that Nations League final and created the situation that led to Ronaldo's goal, is one of the most explosive left-sided players in world football. Defensively, Ruben Dias gives leadership and authority. Diogo Costa has become the penalty reference point for the national team. Portugal look more balanced now than at almost any point in the Ronaldo era. So the question isn't talent, it's balance. Ronaldo at 41 cannot be used like Ronaldo at 26. He won't press constantly from the front. He won't carry the ball from wide and beat 3 players in transition. But he still offers something very specific, elite box occupation. His timing between centre-backs is still dangerous. His aerial threat still changes how opponents defend crosses. His presence still forces centre-backs to stay attached, opening spaces for runners around him. If Portugal become too Ronaldo-focused, they risk becoming predictable. Early crosses, fixed attacks, slower pressure after losing the ball. But if they use him intelligently as the final reference point inside a team with full of creators, the threat becomes completely different. Bruno finds him early, Bernardo manipulates the tempo, Vitinha draws pressure, Leao and Mendes stretch the left, Neto or Conceição attack the right, and suddenly Ronaldo isn't carrying Portugal anymore. He's finishing the work of a machine finally built around more than one man. That's why 2026 feels different from every previous tournament. Ronaldo has conquered almost every mountain football could create. One summit still refuses to move. For years, Ronaldo carried Portugal. Now, Portugal might finally be strong enough to carry Ronaldo toward history.
The World Cup has a Ronaldo problem, because Cristiano Ronaldo is no longer supposed to be this relevant. At 41, he should be a montage, a name younger players mention with respect before moving on. Instead, he arrives at another World Cup as Portugal's captain, still scoring, still forcing every opponent to ask the same uncomfortable question. How do you defend a player whose legs have changed, but whose timing hasn't? He doesn't need to dominate 90 minutes to decide a match anymore. He needs one cross, one loose ball, one penalty, one centre-back switching off for half a second. That's the version Portugal are carrying into 2026. Not the winger who destroyed fullbacks, not the Madrid machine who thrived in transition, but a penalty box specialist who still understands space better than most defenders understand danger. And Portugal finally have the structure to make that matter. Old Portugal felt like a team waiting for Ronaldo to solve the game. This Portugal builds the game before the ball even reaches him. Ronaldo no longer has to be Portugal's entire attack. He becomes the final action. That's the tactical headache for opponents. Defend deep and Portugal's creators keep moving the block. Push high and Leao, Neto or Conceição punish the space. Overprotect wide areas and Bruno and Vitinha find central pockets. Forget him for half a second and he still punishes you. If he starts scoring early at this World Cup, the tournament shifts immediately. Media pressure explodes. The Messi comparison returns. Every Portugal match becomes a legacy event. That's the emotional danger of him still being here. Football loves endings, and Ronaldo understands the theatre of endings better than almost anyone. This is potentially his 6th World Cup. He became the first male player to score at 5 consecutive tournaments in Qatar 2022. Now Portugal land in Group K alongside DR Congo, Uzbekistan and Colombia. That group won't be judged normally. Portugal win comfortably and people ask if Ronaldo can complete the impossible. They struggle and people question whether his presence is the problem. He scores and the debate gets louder. He doesn't and the criticism gets brutal. There is no quiet outcome when Cristiano Ronaldo is involved. Winning the World Cup wouldn't just add another trophy, it would fill the only empty space left in one of football's most overloaded careers. Failure wouldn't destroy his legacy, that idea is frankly ridiculous, but it would leave the final question permanently unanswered. The terrifying part isn't that Ronaldo is still here. The terrifying part is that Portugal may finally be ready at exactly the same time.